Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest. That's where you register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, hotel accommodations, autographed memorabilia, and more. Register today at 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. It is the Buzz Williams Show. It is a Monday. We are at Rudy's. We're going to talk some Aggie basketball for the next hour. And as we start the hour, I want to go back because I could not write fast enough after Saturday's game against TCU. You broke down, math-wise, you said you were a nerd last week, numbers nerd, right? But you broke down in probably, Buzz, the easiest way to digest a 68-64 loss. What TCU did well because of what the Aggies didn't do well. You broke down turnover rate, free throw rate. I'm always wondering, how do you get out of a scoring drought? And you're explaining how you're getting in to that drought, what you're not doing. But this numbers really is a way to break it down and be digestible for your players, isn't it?
I just think that it cuts the opinions out. Not that opinions aren't important, but I think when you use numbers, they know that those are facts, as long as you're not trying to skew the numbers. And so when TCU shot and missed, they got the ball back 46% of the time. So if that was the only issue, that would be a double-digit loss. That's one category. And then when we had the ball, we gave it to them 26% of the time. If that was the only number you knew, that would typically lead to a double-digit loss. And then from the free throw line, we shot 44%. That wouldn't necessarily turn into a double-digit loss because you could say maybe you didn't shoot very many. But we shot 18 free throws and only made 44%. So if you look at all three of those problems, that it was only a 4-point game is miraculous in many respects. And it says that we did do some good things, that if it was only a 4-point game. So I don't know that our players necessarily always understand percentage, but we try to teach them some of that so they understand. Using their scholarship check, I make them do it on their phone. This is how much you have to give away. Using pennies, if you use 10 pennies or if you use 100 pennies. So they categorically they understand, but if an opponent shoots and misses and in essence half the time they get it back, that's not good. That's not good at all. And if when you have the ball, a fourth of the time you're giving it to them, that's not good. Because when you give it to them, you didn't get a shot. You didn't have a chance to get an offensive rebound. You didn't have a chance to get fouled. And potentially, depending upon the type of turnover, if it's a live ball, it probably leads to a one-pass layup or no-pass layup. And that happened a lot. They scored 17 points in transition. 15 of those points were off of our live ball turnovers. So it's just really bad math. And against a team, they were third in the country in offensive rebounding. That was Big Rock number one in preparation for them. And we did worse. They rebounded the ball better against us than they had up until that point. And so just all of those things added together, it's 61-59 when Haas hit the shot. Mm-hmm. We have a chance. We take a charge on that defensive possession. Dre takes a charge, and then we come down the floor and turn it over. That turnover led to we needed to foul again, et cetera, et cetera. And so all of those things. But when it's all three of those things combined in a game, really difficult to overcome.
let me turn it to this way, because it is a 4-point game. When you say if we do this the percentage of times or with this rate and they see the success as opposed to the negative, right, then that also is a clarity of understanding for all of them?
Well, we forced them into 15 turnovers. We are a good team at forcing turnovers. 15 is a good number. I think they had 70 possessions. We had 69, I think. I think we had one less than they did. So our guys understand it. We shot 45% from the field. That's a good number. We shot 38% from three. That's a good number. But the problem is we only got 75% of our possessions to do that. Right. Not that we're going to play without a turnover, I understand, and not that we're going to play without giving up an offensive rebound. But they had one less offensive rebounds than we had turnovers. And so we gave it to them 18 times, and when they shot it, they got it back 17 times. Well, the collection of those 35 turnovers or 35 possessions, however the view is that you want to look at, that's just really hard to overcome.
I thought you, if I remember correctly, you said 5-on-5, TCU scored 20 points?
Yep. In the first half, they scored 3 that were not off offensive rebounds, that were not off turnovers, that were not off 3 free throws. So I think they had 33 points at half. And so they scored 35 points in the second half. Mm-hmm. We didn't turn the ball over as much. Mm-hmm. They didn't get as many offensive rebounds. So you are going to play against a set defense more. So that the numbers were what they were in the second half was because we helped ourselves in regards to not turning it over as much, not giving up as many offensive rebounds, and then we were able to get some offensive rebounds. I think we only had 4 offensive rebounds at the half.
Ends up being a 68-64 win for TCU. That was on Saturday in Houston. Up next, what was supposed to be a game tomorrow night, that's been canceled because of COVID at Tulane. More on that, and then we'll preview Oregon State a little bit later on during the Buzz Williams Show. Stay with us. We are at Rudy's, and this is the Buzz Williams Show, and this is Aggie basketball from Learfield. You can join Texas A&M Student Athlete Advisory Council and Frontier in donating toys to children in need this holiday season. Bring your new unwrapped toys to the Texas A&M women's basketball game at Reed Arena on December 19th. Visit 12thman.com/toy drive for full details. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. So glad that you are with us. Recapping the Aggie game against TCU on Saturday, previewing Oregon State coming up on this coming Saturday. We're at Toyota Center in Houston. How did you like playing on that court? You had said last week you'd never coached on that court. You've seen a game there, but you never coached on that court.
I'm glad that we did it. I wasn't necessarily a fan. I didn't like the gap of people that are able to sit courtside between our bench and the scores table. That kind of threw me off because I'm used to turning and there's our group. I didn't like that the NBA three-point line and the college line were on there. I asked the official, I think there was some confusion on the charge circle. I thought the NBA charge circle was 1 foot wider. He wasn't sure, and then he checked with somebody at the media timeout. He said that it wasn't. He said that it was the same. That's not why we lost, but it was a little different.
An adjustment.
Yeah, it was a little different vibe, a little different ambiance. I don't think our players necessarily cared, but
right.
It was a little different from the vantage point that I'm typically at.
I know the last time we played Oregon State, we played it at Moda Center in Portland, and Billy Kennedy was joking and saying that his players, that they just shot the three from the first three-point line they saw, and that was the NBA.
Yeah, and I think in defense of those kids and our kids, maybe even TCU's guys, when you're used to playing and that's the only line you see, well, then you are going to shoot relative to the first line you see because you don't ever see two.
Right.
I'm not saying that you make or miss or whatever based on the line, but even when we were at shoot-around Saturday morning, we kept telling them, it's our line, not that line.
Yeah.
Because even when they were shooting behind the NBA line.
I know we had from courtside just behind you, and I think behind us it was either Marcus Williams' family or friends or a group of that. So you have that young man from Dickinson and all your players from Houston, a home game.
Yeah.
I know Reed's not very far, but a home game for them.
I think all of that was good. I mean, to play in an NBA arena, and obviously for our Texas guys to be able to be closer to home if they're from Houston. But, yeah, all of that's good. Not only for us, but also for, I would say that TCU felt the same. But it was a different vibe. It's a neutral site game. But, you know, normally when it's neutral site, it's still a college court. It's still a normal setup. I mean, I stumbled over the guy sitting right next to the scores table several times, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm just not used to anybody being there. He was like, no, Coach, this is great. You're a little more active than the NBA guys. I was like, well, I'm trying not to be active because I don't know who you are and who these other 5 people are. Like, I'm trying to represent the Aggies well.
And you wish you could have just sat there Phil Jackson style as your team is just playing, right?
Maybe that's the way I should coach.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. They would look over and say, hey, where did Coach go?
I know.
The trip began with a trip and a chance to play at Unity Home, just north of Houston. Buzz, to see the joy on your players at that community center with that staff and with all those young men and women really gladdened my heart to see how much it wasn't, oh, man, we have to be here. That was definitely we want to be here. And it was hard to get them out of that rec center and out of that court.
Our guys did a great job. They're good kids. They've been raised the right way. I did think that was a really good – that was time well spent relative to community service. Luke Hillen had told our guys before we left about the foster home and what it was and et cetera, so they had a little bit of context. And then I thought who they were was revealed from beginning to end. To be able to spend time with those kids, I thought they were great with the staff. The kids were able to come to the game, which I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume that they probably don't get many opportunities to do something like that. They probably don't have that sort of visit coming to their home. So it was a good change of pace. You know, all of the lady that ran the home told me that they had been studying all of Texas A&M all week. You know, using it as an opportunity to talk about Texas A&M, the school, and then talking about college athletics, and then talking about our team. And then each kid, as you know, each kid had a question for each player on the team, and we went through each of those foster home children being able to ask the question on the microphone. I think there were probably a lot of firsts for those children, and what our time there was with them, and then probably what their experience was to go to the Toyota Center, to see a game, to have that sort of environment. And, you know, it's very humbling. You know, the guy that orchestrated the game is the one that arranged for all of that for us to do community service. And, you know, he said, man, it meant so much to all of them. I said, well, it meant that much to us to be able to spend time with them. And it just, obviously it's very humbling because we go so fast and begin to think maybe in an unspoken way, this is the way it is for everybody. But we live in such a narrow lane that maybe sometimes we don't realize, like, whoa. And I know that other things bring attention to that, you know, when things don't go good or when you have sickness or you have illness. But to be able to, everything's normal, we're on the bus and we're going to stop and, hey, this is where they live. And this is the court, playground court with the, you know, outdoor goal with the rubber ball that's overinflated, like, you know, and then like when we were giving them their participation gifts that our staff had put together, I mean, just giving them the A&M hat that none of us would wear, or, you know, the T-shirt that's not a dry fit, and those kids being so thankful for it. You know, it's very humbling, and it kind of makes you internally reset, like, yeah, I need to be more thankful.
He is Buzz Williams, and this is the Buzz Williams Show, and we will continue from Rudy's. Stay with us. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Glad that you have stayed with us. Aggies taking on Oregon State on Saturday. The game against Tulane, COVID has hit the Tulane program, so that game has been canceled. Up next for the Aggies will be Corvallis, Oregon on Saturday against the Beavers, starting up a rivalry. These two schools have played each other in the past, so that is what's next for the Aggies. One game this week instead of two. I want to go back to we're talking about the community service at the Unity Home. You say this, Jimbo Fisher says this an awful lot. Sometimes when you play collegiate sports and you're a student athlete, it's bigger than yourself. That's one of those moments where you realize it's bigger than just yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think one thing that I'm learning through all of this is everybody's going to have a brand new team every year because of the new arrangement. And so when you have a brand new team every year, regardless of where they came from or how old they are, where they're coming from changes the personality of your team. And their experiences and what they believe a good team is, or how to play hard, or how important education is, or what does it mean to be a great teammate, everybody's going to have a little bit of a different answer. And so as much as we think tactically when it comes to coaching, I think going forward, coaching is important, but more coaching will be leading and trying to help guys learn how to lead. I don't know that it will be, here's the out-of-bounds play that we ran last year. Well, we may only have 3 or 4 guys that know the out-of-bounds play from last year. But I don't know that you're going to run the same out-of-bounds play every year, because the personnel on your team is going to change. And as a coach, you want to put your team in the best position to be successful. And so I think your style of play has to be adaptable, but I think from a complexity standpoint, it has to be simple enough that they can understand it and execute it at a much faster rate, because there's not going to be many fifth-year seniors anymore that have been in the program over and over and over. And so I think one of those changes is like what you're talking about. That experience of going to the foster home for our players, that may have been their first. Not for our returning players, no, it may have been our first for all of them. Playing at the Toyota Center, that may have been the first for all of them. But what you do know for sure is it was the first for that group to do it. And so how can you create those sorts of experiences to learn from, so that now there's context to who's on your team? Hey, you remember when we did this? It's like this, right? Because you're not going to be able to continue to reach back to the past, because there's going to be a low percentage of people from the past. And I think you're seeing it in the coaching world just as much. The rate of change relative to the rosters, that's turning into the same almost rate of change relative to coaches, because there's so much volatility. And so, well, here's a new assistant, well, here's a new head coach, well, that guy quit, and that guy got fired, and that guy, and this kid transferred. Like, there's so many moving parts. And so how can you get everybody, as John Gordon would say, get everybody on the bus and get everybody sitting in the right seat and everybody going in the same direction? Well, as fast as our world moves, that's what a lot of this is going to become. And then, hey, you're sitting in the second seat on the aisle. This is what we need from you. And then being able to explain that in a way they go, oh, yeah, even though they probably don't have experience doing that. And so you only, to some degree, garner wisdom through experience. And if you have lack of experience, then how can you create experiences in order to increase the level of wisdom? Whether that's playing, whether that's practice, whether that's in the film room. we watch a lot of film, but that doesn't mean that where all of these guys came from, that they even know how to absorb all the film, which is what you and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Like, how much are you going to give on the opponent when what you're doing is brand new for them too? And as soon as you start giving information on the opponent, is it information overload and they forget what it is that you're supposed to do? And I think all of those things that I just mentioned, I think that's the delicate line that I'm trying to figure out. I think that every coach is trying to figure out, like, is this the right amount of us? Is this the right amount of the opponent? Are we on the same page? Are we all sitting in the right seats on the bus? Because as experiences happen, whether that's 6 days in Vegas, whether that's a neutral site, now we're about to have a new experience on a road game. Well, we were supposed to be playing Tulane, so our coaches have been preparing to play Tulane, and then literally before we get on the bus, hey, never mind. Oh, okay, well, never mind. All of those hours, just we ain't playing the game. And then, you spend however many hours trying to find a potential opponent. Well, the only people that can play are the ones that are in similar situations. They were ready to play, and COVID affected their opponent. Or they were ready to play, and COVID affected a prior game, and they're looking to fill a game. But we need you to fill the game here on Tuesday because we're leaving for Oregon on Thursday. So, and then you need to digest, well, why did they get half the balls they missed? Why did you turn the ball over 25% of the time? So, hey, we need to shoot more free throws. Yeah, okay, let's figure out how today can we shoot more free throws. But we need to watch film this morning. But we need to practice this afternoon. So, there's just so many irons in the fire. And I think you have to figure out which, it's that you've probably seen that deal. Here's a big, huge vase, and how many rocks can fit in there? Well, we want to put all the big rocks in first, and then we want to put all the pebbles in and let the pebbles kind of fill the airspace. And then they're like, oh, yeah, nothing else will fit in there. Yeah, let's pour some sand down in there. Yeah, that's all. Okay, now pour some water on there so the sand will get even, you're trying to figure out what are the big rocks, what are the pebbles, what's the sand, what's the water. And I think that happens not only tactically, but it happens relative to the relationships, relative to the leadership. You can't just say play harder because they may not necessarily understand what play harder means where they're at. And you can't just necessarily say be a leader. Well, they may not know how to be a leader, so you may have to spend time trying to explain to them how to lead.
I know that you only have so many hours in a week, but if you see that whether it's the fatigue or they're just not getting it, do you take a break and bring them back so they can learn? Because if you try to keep smashing that in, they might not be receptive.
I think what we've tried to do is try to figure out how they learn, and then relative to how they learn, how can we make sure that they're getting the content in the way that they learn most efficiently. And if you're 20 years old, for the most part, it means that you grew up with an iPhone or you grew up with some level of screen. So most of it is going to happen where they can watch. But if they're only watching someone else, that's not going to last near as long as if you splice in, you see them doing it, now watch us doing it. And so if you include them in some of the clips, that'll keep them engaged. And so I think is that everybody in the film room, is that, hey, half of you in here, half of you in there, let's rotate. Is that half of you in the film room, half of you in that room, half of you on the floor walking it through. I think our staff's done a really good job of this person will understand it best if we do it like this. And that's what you want, right? It's really not how much you know, it's how much you can help them to know, but not at the cost of them forgetting what it is they already know, if that makes sense.
It's if they haven't learned, you haven't taught.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
right?
It's the Bill Parcells, like, Coach, I did this, this, and this. Well, obviously you didn't do it good enough because they're not doing it.
Right. But you've thrown out, this is how I've always done it. This is how I did it at Virginia Tech. This is how I did it at Marquette. This is how I did it at New Orleans.
That won't work anymore.
No, it won't.
No, I don't think so. I've tried to be as adaptable as possible and be open to what the staff is saying. listen to our players. And I'm not saying I haven't figured out at all. I don't know if I'm doing a good job or not, because every day is a new day for me. But I know that the way I did it 10 years ago, that's not going to work. And I'm not sure that the way I did it 5 years ago will work. Now, I think there can be some core disciplines or core values that you don't change, but I think it's more adapt, not adopt. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be able to be malleable enough that you can help. And I think if the spirit of what you're trying to do is to help, as long as the character of the people you're trying to help, they're receptive to it. And I think we have great character on our team, but you look at the youth on our team, there's more freshmen on our team than any other class. And that's not complaining. That goes back to what our plan was when the portal began. Because over time, I think that's where the stability of the roster will come from. But like anything else, your inexperience will cause mistakes, but that doesn't change how you will be judged or the production that's required of you.
He's Buzz Williams. We'll continue with the Buzz Williams Show when we return to Rudy's. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Basketball and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood, and Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. And that is where we are for this week's edition of the Buzz Williams Show. The Aggies in Oregon State on Saturday, and that will be in Corvallis. As Coach mentioned, we're going to be leaving on Thursday for that one. Going to take a page out of football, out of Jimbo's book, leave a couple days early. Like they do as my partner Dave Elmendorf for football. Someone asked him, hey, is that okay? Because I did in the NFL for 9 years. So it was just fine for him. Question time, because Ian has offered up a question. Coach, how is Texas A&M different from other places you have coached?
Yeah, I can do it fast. If you're talking about the schools that I've coached in that don't have a hyphen or a direction in the name of the school, that'll be the schools that I talk about. The first school that I worked at that didn't have a hyphen or a direction was Colorado State. I was 27 when Coach Lair hired me. Coach Lair's on our staff here. That's in the Mountain West Conference. Fort Collins, Colorado is a top 10 city in the country to live. It is a hard basketball job because the state doesn't produce very many players. Obviously, I was an assistant here for 2 years. With Coach Gillespie. We were 0-18 when we came here. That was when Texas A&M was in the Big 12. The state at that time, and still is, populated with really good players. I love being at a football school. I love football more than basketball. I was the head coach at the University of New Orleans. They do not have football there. It was immediately following Hurricane Katrina, the first basketball season after Hurricane Katrina. The whole campus had been completely destroyed. We did not have an arena to play in. We played in like a gym that would be like a high school gym from 50 years ago. We didn't have offices. We didn't have a locker room. I was only there 1 year. My family and I lived an hour and a half away in a home that had not been flooded, that was in a place that I felt comfortable with my wife and at that time 3 kids staying at home. Went to Marquette, non-football school. It was when the Big East was what your dad grew up watching, not exclusively what your dad grew up watching, but about the time your dad went to college, the Big East began to change. I thought it was the best league in the country. Marquette is committed to men's basketball at a very, very high level. They're top 10 in the country in attendance every year. They play where the Bucks play. Incredible support. We were there 6 years. Virginia Tech football, really important. You could argue their coach was the R.C. Slocum of Texas A&M football. He coached there for 29 years. They went to 24 consecutive bowls. It was a brand new president and a brand new AD that hired me 50 days after they got the job. They had finished in last place 3 years in a row. We finished in last place in year one. went to the Sweet 16 in year 5. Basketball was not supported at all when we got there because they had not had much success. Nobody came to the games. It was just kind of an afterthought. And building the program was really fun. We got to where nearly every game was a sellout, non-conference or not. I think the leagues are a little different. The Big East at Marquette, the ACC when we were at Tech, and then now obviously in the SEC. I think when we were in the Big East, it was the best league numerically. When we were in the ACC, it was the best league. And so far, I know we've only played 9 games, but us or the Big Ten thus far this year are statistically the best leagues. So for somebody with my path to be able to have coached in 3 of the Power 5 leagues has been really cool. But each of them have been uniquely different, partly because of the league, partly because of the location, partly because of the success or lack thereof. Every coach that's ever coached at Marquette has won a bunch of games and been very successful. The same cannot be said for Virginia Tech or for here. And I think, obviously I was familiar with Texas A&M when I was at Marquette before they hired Coach Kennedy. I had visited with Texas A&M about the job. I'm very close friends with Coach Kennedy. But all of them are a little bit different. The size of the league, I think, is similar. When I was in the Big East, there were 15 teams. When I was at the ACC, 15. And what is there now, 15 here?
16
15
15
here.
others than us.
Yeah, other than us.
I'm sorry, 13. There's going to be 15 more
that's right.
in a couple of years.
That's why I knew my math was off.
Yeah.
I think it was, is there 14 teams in this league right now?
Yeah.
And then there will be 16. So it's always been one of the bigger leagues. So there's some similarities, but each job has been unique in and of itself.
Ian, thank you again for the question. We'll continue with the Buzz Williams Show. Return with us to Rudy's when we step aside. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Our final edition, or our final segment for this week's edition. We are back with you again next Monday, December 20th. That will be the next show, and then we will take a little bit of a break for the holidays. But in this final segment, telling you that episode 5 of Rooted is out. You will learn more about assistant Lyle Wolf. You'll learn more about the quality time together for this team. And what I love about Rooted, Coach, is it's a basketball version of the Pulse, and it's a way to learn more about the program, that investment. And you've always had a transparency of your program, haven't you? You like to be able to share what is going on with your program.
I don't know if that's smart. I am transparent. I'm transparent with our players, with recruits, with you, with the print media. I don't know if long-term that makes the most sense. I think it's just kind of like how my parents used to always tell me as a kid, just tell the truth and then you don't have to remember what you said. And so I do think some of the things that we do are cool. I do think that the experiences our guys are able to be a part of helps their lives. We hope that it helps their game, but just as important or more important, we hope that it helps their lives. I haven't seen the latest episode, but I'm familiar with what you're talking about. And the 12th man and Josh and all the time and the effort that those guys are walking around everything that we're doing to gather the content and then to cut it up so you can see it in a 5-minute miniature movie. I think that's just as cool as maybe whatever is being seen. The photography and the camera work and the music and the words and how to clip it out and how to tell a story. To me, that's like being able to tell a story, whether it's in one segment or be able to watch all of them and you're kind of wanting to watch all of them like it's a Netflix series. I think all the people that are doing the work to make that happen is what makes it so cool.
It's been absolutely phenomenal so far. We said episode 5 is out.
There's
right
5?
This one is 5. So
and what was this one about?
This is Lyle.
Oh, good.
And then the quality time together. About finals and the Christmas party. And
that was fun. The Christmas party was great fun.
The joy of your team, the joy of your staff, the joy of your family.
Yeah.
Honored to be a part of it, Coach.
You're a part of it. You're part of the family. I appreciate you not asking me hard questions when we lose by 4 and shoot 44% from the free throw line. That's why you and Thornton are That's why you got that pullover.
That's exactly right.
I don't even have that pullover.
You
It
don't?
looks nice.
You can borrow it anytime.
No,
you
I'm
want.
giving it to you.
It is comfortable.
Yeah, it looks
You're going to
good.
see it a lot.
It looks
You're
good.
going to see it an awful lot. By having something like Rooted, Buzz, that's how fans can invest in this team. And if they invest, then they come out to read. They know the players. That's how you fill up that building. Winning and being allowing fans to invest in your players.
I think when they know what you're doing and they know the people that you're doing it with, I think that helps anybody, right? In a movie, you want to know the characters and you want to know what roles they play so that you can be a part of the story. And so I do think any of that is healthy. Winning is a part of it. You always want to win. You always want to play together and play hard and play smart. And sometimes we do that. We're trying to do better in all of those regards, and we'll always look for growth opportunities to be better in that. But I think when the moms of the kids on our team, the dads of the kids on our team are able to see what their guys, what their sons are living through, and I think it connects us in a lot of ways. I think coaches watch it. I think recruits watch it. I think there's maybe unquantifiable impact in a good way. Not when everything is perfect. No, it's rooted whether we win or whether we lose. And it's not always exclusive to a game. It's exclusive to the experience of what our program is. And I think that's the power that comes from it. Because there's a limited amount of time that you can talk to somebody or you can see somebody. But when they can see you and what you do on a daily basis, now, in addition to the time that you spend with them and the relationship you have with them, now they can connect some dots.
They can watch their son play on SEC Network or ESPN. They don't get to see this part of it. I'm talking about
no, they don't.
No.
I mean, they get the Christmas postcard, and the Christmas postcard this year is all of our guys wearing their suits.
Yeah.
But they knew about the suits because that was one of the earlier issues in Rooted. And so, yeah, I think for them to be able to see it, and, some of the parents text me about, I like this, and I didn't know that, and that was cute, and that was cool, and I think all of that stuff is good.
What I'm going to miss about not having a home game tomorrow and the possibility of a win is to watch you and your team join the Yell Leaders and the Reed Rowdies. When did you know that you wanted to become a Yell Leader?
Boy, I really like. I'm wrong. I apologize if I'm saying this wrong. The leader of the Yale Leaders.
Memo Salinas. Right?
Is that who it is, Josh? Man, I love him.
Because he came to you before the season started and said, what can I do?
He's going to be a president of a Fortune 500
we're
company.
going to be working for him.
I love him.
Yeah.
And so I just gave him a hug, and then he was like, Coach, do this with me. And I know I didn't do very good, so I won't do that again.
But now I see your team. It was
they know all of it.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they know all of it.
And this isn't just any time that they're around the five Yell Leaders. They're doing this on their own.
Four and Henry know all of them. Four and Henry, Haas is pretty close, and now everybody's kind of joining in. It's kind of cool.
But I love that your team was over there, and they are with the fans, and they are taking the selfies, and they are sharing that on the social media. Once again, can you spread joy and say this is where you want to be? Again,
yeah, we need to keep. We want all the season tickets to show up, and we want all the people that care about Aggie basketball to be there. But I think the students change the ambiance because that's who our players know. Not that they don't want to see other people, other adults there. We want it to be full. But I think the students at any arena change the environment, change the vibe. And so the more students we can get, here's free T-shirts. I know JMO and the administration and marketing have been over the top in promoting every one of our home games, and we're very thankful of that because that needs to continue to grow and needs to continue to improve because that will help because that's what all kids identify with. Yeah. People that they're peers, just like we identify with one another because we're peers.
Right, absolutely. I will see you Thursday. We take off.
Yeah, we're going to have
early.
We have early bird, and then we'll lift and train, and then we'll practice, and then we'll leave. It's on the other side of the earth. Have you ever been there?
No, I've been to Portland.
It makes the flight to Vegas seem short.
Oh, okay.
I think when we get to Vegas, we're like halfway there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
It's a long way.
That will be
And I don't know what time we're going to get back, but it will be,
sometime Sunday.
yeah, like in the morning.
Yeah.
Like
Way morning.
Yeah, late morning.
Absolutely.
I guess it would be early morning. but
Beat the hell out of Oregon State.
Thank you.
You got it. He is Buzz Williams, and this has been the Buzz Williams Show. Tony O'Neill is our producer. Kevin Menchow is our engineer. For Buzz, I'm Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you all for being here. We'll talk to you next week. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield.